My wife demanded an open marriage, so I showed her the brutal truth that ended us. Hey Reddit. My wife and I had been together for nearly a decade, married for 6 of those years. I thought we had a strong, loving relationship, one built on trust, loyalty, and commitment. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I never imagined she would blindside me the way she did. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a show, she turned to me and said we needed to talk. Her tone was serious, but I never expected what came next. She told me she had been doing a lot of thinking and wanted to explore an open marriage. Just like that. No build-up, no warning, just a bomb dropped on me like it was a casual conversation about what to have for dinner. At first, I thought she was joking. I laughed, but she didn't. Instead, she looked at me with an expression I can only describe as hopeful, as if she truly believed I would go along with this insanity. When I asked her why, her response was filled with all the usual nonsense. She loved me, she didn't want to leave me, but she felt like she was missing out on something. She said monogamy wasn't natural and that people should be able to explore connections with others without it meaning the end of their primary relationship. In other words, she wanted the stability and comfort of our marriage while being able to sleep with other men. I was furious but kept my emotions in check. I asked if she had already been with someone else, if this was her way of easing me into accepting an affair she had already started. She swore up and down that she hadn't done anything yet, but she wanted the freedom to do so without feeling guilty. The audacity of it all left me speechless. I told her that if she wanted to sleep with other men, then she was free to do so, but she wouldn't be doing it as my wife. If she wanted an open marriage, we were getting a divorce. She panicked, immediately backtracking and saying she didn't want to lose me. That she still loved me. That we could set rules and boundaries to make it work. But I had already made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around while my wife disrespected everything we had built together. She had made her choice, and now I was making mine. Then, something inside me shifted. If she wanted to see what an open marriage looked like, I would give her a taste of her own medicine. Instead of immediately filing for divorce, I told her I needed time to think about it. She was relieved, thinking she had convinced me. But in reality, I had already started planning my revenge. I went out and got myself back into shape, updated my wardrobe, and started reconnecting with old friends. She noticed the change immediately. She began asking where I was going, who I was with, why I was suddenly dressing better. I could see the insecurity creeping in, the realization that maybe she wasn't as in control of this situation as she thought. Then came the final blow. One night, I came home late, deliberately letting her see the lipstick stain on my collar. She lost it. Screaming, crying, demanding to know if I had been with someone else. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Isn't this what you wanted? An open marriage? This is just me embracing our new lifestyle." She broke down, completely unraveling. It was in that moment that she realized the brutal reality of what she had asked for. She begged me to stop, to go back to the way things were. But it was too late. I had already checked out. I had seen what life could be like without the burden of a disloyal spouse. I filed for divorce the next day. She tried everything to convince me to stay. Apologies, promises, even desperate attempts to seduce me, but I was done. She had shattered the foundation of our marriage, and there was no repairing it. In the end, she got exactly what she had asked for, except instead of an open marriage, she got an empty one. Now, I'm moving on with my life, and she's left with nothing but regret. And that's where things should have ended. But what I didn't expect was the chaos that followed after we separated. Because it turns out, my wife wasn't as innocent in this whole situation as she claimed. And what I found out next changed everything. Update. After filing for divorce, I was ready to move on, but my soon-to-be ex-wife wasn't making things easy. She kept calling and texting, begging me to reconsider. At first, it was the usual apologies. She had made a mistake, she didn't mean to hurt me, she didn't realize how much our marriage meant to her until it was too late. When that didn't work, she tried shifting the blame, saying that if I had been more affectionate, more spontaneous, more like the man she fell in love with, she never would have considered an open marriage in the first place. That was the moment I knew she wasn't just sorry, she was panicking. And I soon found out why. A few days after I moved out, a mutual friend reached out and asked if I was okay. I told him I was doing fine, and he hesitated before telling me there was something I needed to know. Apparently, my wife had been talking about an open marriage for a while, long before she brought it up to me. Not only that, but she had already been testing the waters behind my back. She hadn't just been thinking about sleeping with other men. She had already done it. The whole talk about wanting an open marriage wasn't about exploring something new, it was about justifying what she had already been doing. My blood boiled as I listened to the details. She had been seeing a coworker, sneaking around while I was at work, lying to my face every single day while pretending she was still committed to our marriage. And when she finally worked up the nerve to tell me, it wasn't out of guilt, it was because she wanted permission to keep doing it. I confronted her immediately. I told her I knew everything, that she had been lying from the start, that she never had any intention of respecting our marriage. She broke down, sobbing, swearing up and down that it was a mistake, that she only did it because she felt neglected, that she never meant to fall for someone else. But it was too late. I told her I wasn't just divorcing her, I was done speaking to her, done listening to her excuses, done being part of her life in any way. She begged me not to cut her off completely, saying she still loved me, that she needed me in her life, that she couldn't imagine a world where we weren't at least friends. I laughed in her face. Friends? After what she did? There was no friendship left to salvage. And yet, the fallout didn't stop there. Because what she did next proved that she wasn't just selfish, she was completely unhinged. Another update. After I told her I wanted nothing to do with her, my ex-wife spiraled. She started showing up at my new place uninvited, calling me at all hours, leaving voicemails about how miserable she was. She even tried to get our friends involved, playing the victim and telling them I was being cruel by refusing to forgive her. But I stood my ground. I made it clear to everyone that I had no intention of letting her manipulate me any further. That's when she took things to another level. One night, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, it was her. She was crying, saying she had made the biggest mistake of her life, that she couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, that she had nothing left without me. I told her to move on, that she had made her choice and now she had to live with it. But then she said something that sent a chill down my spine. She told me she had done something terrible, something that she couldn't take back, and that if I didn't come over to talk, she didn't know what she would do to herself. I didn't know if she was bluffing or if she was serious, but I wasn't willing to take the risk. So, against my better judgment, I went over to our old house. When I got there, she looked like a wreck, hair messy, eyes puffy, completely disheveled. She threw herself at me, sobbing, saying she had ruined her life, that she didn't know how to go on without me. I told her this wasn't my problem anymore, that she needed to get help and move on. But she wouldn't listen. Instead, she grabbed me, pulled me into a desperate kiss, and whispered that we could fix everything if I just gave her another chance. I pushed her away, told her this wasn't happening, and turned to leave. That's when she snapped. She started screaming, throwing things, calling me every name in the book. She said I was heartless, that I never really loved her, that if I had, I wouldn't have given up on her so easily. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. She told me she was pregnant. I froze. I knew it wasn't mine. I had been careful, and we hadn't been together in weeks before I left. I asked her who the father was, and she went silent. That's when it all clicked. It was her coworkers. The man she had been cheating on me with. And now she was stuck with the consequences of her actions. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was just so pathetic. She had destroyed our marriage for some fleeting affair, and now she was pregnant with another man's child, hoping I would be stupid enough to take her back and raise it as my own. I told her I didn't care, that her life was no longer my concern, and walked out. That was the last time I saw her in person. But it wasn't the last I heard from her. Because the final twist in this mess was still coming. Final update. Weeks after that disaster of a conversation, I was finally starting to feel free. I had moved on, was seeing someone new, and was looking forward to closing this chapter of my life for good. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from her coworker. The man she had cheated on me with. At first, I ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. When I opened it, I nearly burst out laughing. He was furious. Apparently, after I left, she had tried to make things work with him, but he had no interest in being a father. When she told him she was pregnant, he dumped her immediately and cut her off. Now, she was completely alone. No husband, no affair partner, no support. And the best part? He didn't even believe the baby was his. He accused her of sleeping with multiple people and said he wanted a paternity test before he would even consider being involved. I couldn't have scripted a better ending if I tried. My ex-wife, who thought she could have everything, ended up with nothing. No loving husband, no stable relationship, just a pregnancy from a man who didn't even want to acknowledge her. She reached out one last time, sending me a long message about how she had made terrible mistakes and how she wished she could go back in time. She said she didn't expect me to forgive her but wanted me to know she would always love me. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with them. As for me, I'm happier than I've been in years. I have my freedom, my dignity, and the satisfaction of knowing that in the end, I didn't just walk away, I won. And that, I think, is the real taste of reality she never saw coming.